All right, today we're going to be working on making inferences. Have you ever been in a situation, because I need to make sure you understand what an inference is first. Have you ever been in a situation where you walked into a room and you knew the people had been arguing? Now, the argument was done by the time you got in there, but when you walked in the room, you're like, ooh, something's been going on in here. Who's been in that situation? Let me see some hands. David, how did you know?
Because the place was all messed up and people's faces was like bleeding. It was like chaos, you could tell from the scene.
Very good for chaos. Have any of you ever walked into a room, you knew there was a fight, and there were less obvious clues? Like you didn't actually see blood or torn cushions. Chase, how did you know?
By the look on their faces.
Exactly. And you kind of, there's something you just feel in the air. I mean, you just know. You can tell by the way that they're holding their bodies. You can tell by the looks on their faces. Your ability to walk into a room and know that there has been an argument without being told is making an inference. Basically, what an inference is you coming up with an idea, you coming to a conclusion based on clues that you have seen. We're going to stick with the purpose statement of who is the stranger, and what we're going to do is as we read this book, we're going to periodically stop, record the clues, and try to figure out who the stranger is before the end of the book. What we're going to do is we're going to read the first 2 pages. We'll write down our clues on this side, and then on the other side, after you've shared your clues with the people at your table, you'll write down your inference on the other side. Remember, you're trying to infer who is the stranger. All right, let's get started. The Stranger by Chris Van Allsburg. Take a good look and start forming ideas. Why are you laughing?
Crazy eyes.
Looks a little strange. That's actually a clue. He's got crazy, wild-looking eyes. We know he's a male. You've already got some initial clues. Let me get started. It was the time of year Farmer Bailey liked best, when summer turned to fall. He whistled as he drove along. A cool breeze blew across his face through the truck's open window. Then it happened. There was a loud thump. Mr. Bailey jammed on his brakes. Oh no, he thought, I've hit a deer. But it wasn't a deer the farmer found lying in the road. It was a man. Mr. Bailey knelt down beside the still figure, fearing the worst. Then suddenly the man opened his eyes. He looked up with terror and jumped to his feet. He tried to run off, lost his balance, and fell down. He got up again, but this time the farmer took his arm and helped him to the truck. Let's talk about where he was. Where was he? Yes?
On the road, or probably where he couldn't see him.
Well, let's go back. Then it happened. There was a loud thump. Mr. Bailey jammed on his brakes. Oh, no, he thought, I've hit a deer.
So he ran out in the road.
All right. He's out in the road. He's not walking where he's supposed to be walking. Let's write that down as our first clue. Now I'm going to start pulling on my background information. I'm starting to think about all the times that I've walked down the roads. I've driven down the roads in the country. What type of person is often walking down a road by themselves in the country? Sean?
Probably a homeless person.
Let's make that first inference. Maybe he's homeless. What's your idea based on that one little tiny clue?
Either he doesn't have a car or he's out for a jog.
He's out for a jog? All right, so maybe he's out jogging, so he could be a runner. That would be a reason for him to be on the road. Maybe he doesn't have a car. Jasmine?
He could be a hitchhiker.
Yeah.
He could be a hitchhiker. All right, we've given you lots of ideas. Write one of them down on your inference side, on the inference side, because the clue that we've written on the left side is that he's walking down the road out in the country. When Katie went into the fields that day, the stranger shyly tagged along. Mr. Bailey gave him a pitchfork, and with a little practice, he learned to use it well. They worked hard. Occasionally, Mr. Bailey would have to stop and rest, but the stranger never tired. He didn't even sweat. Put your clues together, put your clues together. Clues together. I'm going to walk around. I want to hear the clues. I want to hear them. All right, now we're getting into clues. He doesn't sweat. He's confused about the button, so a very basic thing that amnesia would not affect how you put on your clothes.
Aliens don't wear clothes.
All right, so you're sticking with your theory.
They walk around like this all day.
You're sticking with your theory. What are the clues?
Forms and like she
That he never sweat.
and that she's like felt the draft.
Oh, see, they didn't pick up on that when he blows on the suit, they feel the draft. What did I interrupt you saying? What were you thinking?
You know how he was picking up the rabbit? Maybe he still thinks he's a little kid or something. He memorized like when he was little.
Now, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense with him not knowing how to put on the clothes, not knowing how to speak, but also him being very human looking. That makes sense. Maybe he's a man but like has got a child's mind. That's logical to me. It's where we left off. The air had turned cold and the leaves on the trees were no longer green.
An alien.
Every autumn since the stranger's visit, the same thing happens at the Bailey farm. The trees that surround it stay green for a week, and after the trees to the north have turned, then overnight they change their color to the brightness of any tree around, and etched in the frost on the farmhouse windows are the words that say simply, "See you next fall." Billy? Hold up. Billy?
I'm thinking that he's like some kind of magical guy that walks around and he like turns the seasons some different color, and then he got hit by a car, so he couldn't do his job, and so the season stopped, and then like he freaked out because everything wasn't going right, so he turned everything to fall.
He seems to know on some intuitive level that the green leaves are not right. We've got to wrap this up. Here's my question. What did you learn about making inferences? How do you do it? How do you make an inference? How do you figure out something that the author is not telling you? Because he never tells you who this stranger is. What did you learn about making inferences? Jasmine, loudly, because you've got a soft voice too.
That when you're reading a story, that you have to pick out clues and try to find the big picture of it.
Exactly. When I came around, I would say, ooh, that's a good inference, or I would say, What was the difference between a good inference and a bad inference? Billy?
A good inference was something like logical or something.
Meaning that it was backed up by?
Clues.
And so when I was throwing out people's inferences, it was because they couldn't do what?
Prove them, like the Terminator.
Back it up.
Exactly. Terminator could not be proven because there was nothing robotic in the story.